Wife cheated. I am so angry I am scared of myself. So I'm a little perplexed. It's been approximately 2 weeks since I found out, and I've been skeptical for a long with several red flags but nothing conclusive. I decided to address her, and her response, uncontrolled rage, prompted me to do so. How can I accuse her of such a thing? She would never, ever cheat. It made me certain. I snooped on her phone and computer but found nothing. So I purchased several little cameras and placed them about the home. Then, during the weekend, I went to see some pals. I grew up in Norway on the Swedish border, and I met my wife in Sweden when I was 20 years old. She was 21 years old, and she had a 3-year-old child at the time. We clicked, and I've become that kid's father for the last 11 years. I adore him and consider him to be my son. It doesn't matter that we've been married for 6 years. To cut a long tale short, I went home early knowing she wouldn't be there and watched the film. Sure enough, she was having an adult conversation with another male. I knew him as a coworker named Theodore, and we got along well with him and his wife. I used to think seeing red was simply a metaphor, but I was seeing red. I'd never been so upset in my life. I'm really a fairly quiet man who seldom gets angry, but I just lost it. I destroyed the glass table in the living room and kicked the bedroom door so hard that it flew off its hinges. I didn't even realize I was biting the inside of my cheek. But as I shouted, I splattered blood on the wall and the floor. I managed to hit my head really hard at one point, which jolted me out of it. When I saw the carnage, I realized I had to get out of there. If my wife had come in at that time, I'm quite sure I'd be in prison. In the best-case scenario, there is domestic violence. In the worst-case scenario, there is murder. I immediately packed a bag with necessities and my laptop. I deal with simulation and modeling, and my computer is custom, which I need to complete my job. I emailed a copy of the tape to Theodore's wife, but I didn't include anything else in the message other than "Your husband is cheating on my wife." I ran into my kid right outside our apartment complex, hugged him, and told him I would always love him, but his mother was cheating on me, so I had to go. I genuinely hate telling him. He shouldn't have to bear that load, but I wasn't feeling myself at the moment, and it just spilled out of me. I went to the border because I wanted to meet my relatives in Norway, but they wouldn't allow me through due to COVID. I've been staying at a cheap Airbnb, working but feeling like a zombie, and haven't spoken to my wife. My son is the only one to whom I have reacted. He's been asking me questions, and I've been as honest as possible with him about the fact that I don't know what's going to happen next, other than divorce. I've been looking for a reputable lawyer, and I've gotten hundreds of mails from my wife and her relatives. I haven't replied to any of them. As far as I am aware, my parents are the only people who are aware of what is going on in my life. I don't want to speak to my friends since they are also friends with my wife, so I don't have much support right now. I'm terrified that if I speak to her or see her again, I'll lose it and say or do something I'll regret. I also don't want to lose touch with my kid, but I'm not sure where to begin. I'm still enraged and don't know how to move over it. I need to reply to my wife at some point, but I'm so enraged that I don't believe I'm sensible. I simply wanted to try writing it down and see if it helped. Thus far, it hasn't made any difference. Story 2. Struggling 20 male, with lack of intimacy with girlfriend 21 female. Background: we've been long-distance dating for about 2 years. Apart from the lack of, our relationship has been really healthy. Every few months or so, we visit each other and stay at each other's parents' homes. She had planned to relocate closer to me this year, but she canceled, so there is no end date for our long-distance relationship at the moment. We're also both virgins. She was on board with when I first began talking to her before we were formal, and we were always filthy chatting and talking about what first positions we would do, etc. Our first in-person encounter was fantastic. We were madly in love and made out all the time in my vehicle. Soon after, she informed me that she intended to wait till marriage. I was unhappy since she told me this so soon after we began conversing, but I felt it was usual for virgins to want to wait, and that it wouldn't be a problem with oral. I inquired whether oral was okay, and she answered sure, so I was relieved and decided to wait for PIV. Our second encounter was equally as good as the first, with more make-out sessions and me giving her an oral while we were alone at home, which was an incredible experience. That was almost a year ago, and it marked the pinnacle of our closeness. In terms of intimacy, our relationship has been quite dry since then. We haven't done anything other from her emailing me photos, which she typically declines when I ask. I actually start everything from grabbing her to kissing her. I tried starting make-out sessions in my vehicle, but she's never interested. When we're alone at home, I begin kissing, but she either moves her head away after 5 seconds or says we can't since my parents will be home. I tried initiating oral when we're alone at home, but she always has an excuse like you need to finish your homework first, your parents might come home early, or just plain no. I've offered to be intimate in my back seat to get away from the house, but she said it might bring back trauma from a previous ex. That one I understand 100%. I'm just at a loss for words, and it seems that her position has shifted again. When I talk about giving her head or anything that isn't PIV, I always say when we're married. Last time, I said unequivocally, I thought you said oral was okay. She grew agitated and said that we would address it in person the next time we met. What I don't understand is why it doesn't upset her at all. Outside of all of this, she's still enthusiastic about me, puts in effort, and is a terrific girlfriend. I'm assuming it's either A, guilt and shame, she's confessed to attending toxic religions that promote chastity, B, low libido and practically no desire, or C, she's receiving it from someone else. In any case, it's killing me. It also makes me feel unwelcome. I understand that lack of intimacy is something you sign up for in LDR, particularly if you're still living with your parents, but not to this extent. I feel like I deserve more, but I also feel immature for not being ready to wait for someone I care about. What should I do next? What should I bring up the next time we meet? Story 3. Boyfriend, 24 male, and me, 24 female, just broke off long-term relationship because his family dislikes me. What did I do? Basically, I've been dating this man for approximately 2.5 years. He treats me well, we both have a lot of mutual regard for one another, we have clear limits, and everything was going well between us. I've known for a long that his family is a bit odd. They're reserved and judgmental, but my family is warm, open, and conversational. I felt quite uneasy at most of the family gatherings he's brought me to since they don't speak to me. Case in point, on Christmas I tried talking to a relative of his and he literally fell asleep. For a long time his mother and I have been at odds. He's an only kid, and she's quite bossy and overbearing, which I understand since it's her baby. It's not a huge deal. She became irritated with me since I wasn't there too frequently. I lived 2 hours away and just started my first full-time job in a school. I explained that this was due to the fact that I was still getting used to working a full week managing children, which resulted in her verbally berating me for an hour and ranting at me about having no work ethic. This is very on brand for her. She has full-fledged meltdowns anytime he refuses to get a haircut, and now that he's between jobs and at home, it's grown a million times worse. My family, for example, had a Christmas celebration scheduled, so we postponed hours out to allow my boyfriend and me to attend both. That was a significant issue. They attacked my character by labeling me selfish despite the fact that we shared time and other things, and it was ultimately the reason of our breakup. I've done everything to be pleasant and honest with these folks, but they never seem to reciprocate. Even now, when I know I've done nothing wrong, I find myself feeling sorry for myself, so I know what he must be going through is even worse. This has occurred to him with everyone he's ever met. I want to assist, but I understand that having his family blend well with his partner is a pretty high importance to him. I told him I was still there for him, but because his parents had pushed him to choose between me and them, I had withdrawn myself from the picture. If someone could give me some suggestions, I would be grateful. I'm sorry, but I'm at a loss here, and I have no clue why my character is being insulted.